So welcome back, everyone. Good to see you all. So we'll begin like we begin so many of our sessions together, our time together, with just dropping into some meditation, dropping into sitting. Hopefully you got some time outside. The thunder's been rolling in here. We just got tiny bits of rain, but lots of purrs. So I got a little bit of time outside. I hope you did too. And let's just settle into a posture that's comfortable, that's upright, that's joyful, that's, just feels like a home you can return to. And maybe even drift side to side, find some play in your hips and your shoulders, wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. And then finding your head, your torso, right in the middle of your being, right in the middle of your balance. Taking a deep breath, stretching to the sky, and exhaling slowly through the mouth. Another deep inhale into the belly, and exhaling slowly through the mouth as if through a straw. And then recall your intention. The altruistic, kind of broader than just oneself feeling that brings you to this practice. And allow it to drop from the head to the whole body. Heart, spleen, your knees, your toes. Breathe it in from the world. Breathe it out to the world. And then bringing our awareness to our breath. Like the tide. Rolling in, emptying out. And in this practice this afternoon together, allowing yourself to notice thoughts, feelings as they arise, and allow them to drop away, like clouds passing, or like the vessel of your mind and your heart emptying itself out. Not possessing anything, but freeing whatever arises. So a thought of anguish, a thought of joy, of the past, of the present. Let it fall away and return to the breath in the body. We'll sit like this for the next few minutes. See if you can notice the end of the exhale. Watching the weather of our thoughts arise and pass. That space at the end of the exhale of fully letting go, not holding on to anything. And then inhaling the world, the next moment arises. And exhaling the whole world, the next moment passes. And find that space of emptying out the end of the exhale. And then in these final breaths, letting go even of the thought of meditating, of doing anything in particular. Just sit. With our final breath, we can send out the merit of practicing together to the whole world. So I really appreciated this morning. It was wonderful to hear people's questions, and I think I'll forever think of the three tenets now as joyful not knowing, joyful bearing witness, and joyful compassionate action. Thank you, Dee Dee. And this afternoon, Dorotea and I thought we'd kind of step through the door of not knowing together. What is it to step through and experience, express this life through that feeling, that valence? And to kind of set the field, I wanted to read the intentions that were shared earlier at the end of, I think, the first hour we were together. We asked people to write them, and I asked people to write them and then share them, and we didn't read them. So just to seed our practice together this afternoon, here's some of the intentions we bring to spending the weekend together. Carol writes, to be present fully in my body, mind, and spirit. Eileen's intention is to find the answer to my most true questions. Tom shared, develop a writing practice as part of my daily practice, moving the pen, moving the mind, having ink help me make sense of this world. Linda's intention is to transform difficult emotions, fear and anger, into bearing witness, healing myself and others, wisdom and compassion. Maria wrote, to open up to other people's experience in a way that changes me and my writing and how I act in the world. Really love that. And Jan wrote, to be fearless, compassionate, and awake, to write intimately, to not be judgmental. So that's just a sense of the intention we all bring to practicing together and kind of the field we're opening up. And before I say a few words about not knowing, I want us to write. So we're going to take 5 minutes. And we so often think about what we find or what we get or what we create. So I thought we'd write for 5 minutes, not about what we find in our life, but what's found us. So what has found you? 5 minutes. Hopefully you have your pen nearby. What has found you? Go. And wrap up whatever sentence you're on. You can put down your pen. So we heard a kind of wonderful journey through Roshi's practice life this morning, which was also a journey through the 3 tenets, and her first teacher saying, just keep don't know mind, with kind of like a militant approach. But I want to just discuss a little bit, what is don't know mind? And what are the kind of, what do we mean by it and what don't we mean by it? So the first thing is maybe what we don't mean by it, which is, someone says, well, what can we do about the Supreme Court ruling on abortion? And you just say, well, I don't know, life's just going to unfold. Or someone says, what are you doing today? And you're like, I don't know, even though like you have a lunch and work to do. Like this kind of smart alecky approach to not knowing can creep up on us. And that's not don't know mind. But what is don't know mind? What is this practice of unknowing, as Bernie often described it, is emptying out. So that's why we kind of sat emptying out, noticing all the certainties, the experiences of tightly held opinions we carry with us, all the ways we define ourselves in our communities, in our culture, in our politics, and really clothe ourselves in those knowings and holding them less lightly, or really kind of undoing our attachments, unknowing what we're so certain of. So this is, I love, Dorotea already shared this quote. This is from the Genjo Koan, and this is the letting go of the Dogen quote she shared. And so the quote, again, is to study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. When actualized by myriad things, your body and mind, as well as the bodies and minds of others, drop away. No trace of enlightenment remains, and this no trace continues endlessly. So to study the self, to study the ways to study the self, to be quite aware, what is this life? And to study the self is to forget the self. What is it to let go of the small self we're so enamored with, or so used to? And so this kind of studying the self, which I think we notice on the cushion, we notice in writing practice, this kind of studying the territory of our life, of our awareness, is something different, of course, to reifying the self, to creating the self, to building the castle of who we are, what opinions we have. And so we're not answering the question, who am I, with a list of adjectives or a list of explanations. We're really answering the question through the lens of not knowing, with the whole world. Who am I? Nothing's left out. How could I answer that? And so this posture of not knowing, or this feeling of not knowing, is just that feeling of releasing our grip, of continuously opening, of not being so certain. And there's this fear that arises for us usually that, oh my Lord, if I don't define what's right and wrong, if I'm not reminding myself and others who I am and what is worth being, I might lose myself. I might disappear. I may not only just disappear, it could be worse. I could kind of fall into confusion or wrongheadedness. So there's a anxiety we may find as we start to practice this not knowing, or this porousness. And of course, we can't ever really avoid having views or having a self. There's not a self to not be, but we can change our relationship. So this is kind of two ways I find myself experiencing not knowing. One way is I can be thrown into it. So the death of someone I love, the death of my father, threw me into a period of what felt like not knowing, right? Everything all of a sudden is up for grabs, is reshuffled. Loss of any kind can do that to us. Love can do that to us. Falling in love, feeling a kind of sense of renewal of anything's possible can be this sense of not knowing. Oh, all of a sudden, the way I thought the world isn't so much the way it is. So this kind of thunder of life can throw us into not knowing. Stillness can throw us or lead us into not knowing. And then there's this relationship with this practice that's cultivated, that we can develop. The muscle of sitting practice or writing practice, Dorotea was pointing to. And this is the practice of noticing what we're enamored with, what we're holding close to, what kind of leads us to feel the kind of fist of knowing, and releasing that sense of certainty or shifting our relationship to know that there's actually space. There's something of this life, something of our experience that's before our certainty, that there's a gap. And that noticing our stories and feeling the space before the story arises is a kind of developing of not knowing, or a kind of practicing of not knowing. So we can choose to practice holding our stories lightly. That can be something we both choose to practice and choose to develop. And I think in a radical way, I mean, that's like maybe what not knowing feels like to me in everyday life. And in a radical way, sometimes we can let go of everything altogether. We can have these moments in our life that we actually didn't create, that are kind of accidents. And we feel what it's like to be naked of all of our fabrications. So this is, there's a famous koan, a Zen story about not knowing that begins with pilgrimage. And it led me to think of the pilgrimages I've been on with community of Upaya, the Nomads Clinic that Roshi Joan leads. And the kind of practice of pilgrimage is this practice in many ways. We travel a road with the kind of intention of transformation, and we let the road take all the things that we've been carrying with us. We kind of slowly shed, step by step, all the things we may not even know are burdening us, or that have laden us, that we've put on top of ourselves. And I had this experience. It was maybe the second time I went on this pilgrimage, a service pilgrimage in the northern parts of Nepal, the culturally Tibetan region of Nepal. And there's clinics we set up, and between the clinics we do, days of long hikes over high passes, and this just raw territory, old land, many miles from any paved road. And it works the body. And, as Roshi mentioned, I've had COVID the last couple weeks, and it's similar. Exhaustion has this teaching where you just can't hold on to much anymore. You're too tired. So I've been reminded of that these past couple weeks. And these periods of our life when we're so tired, suddenly we notice, as I did kind of the middle of this trip, we were in an old monastery and we were all together. And at the end of the night, we split up and I just walked to the top of the hill. And it was the last light. And there was a murder of crows that were really kind of deserving their names. They were just cawing and cawing. And somehow took from me, without my volition, whatever last stuff I was holding on to. And these moments come periodically in our life. And they're that kind of expression or realization of, oh, wow, there's a lot I've been carrying around. So those are really useful, I think, whether they're joyful or not. And often, in my experience, they're not always. But they remind us of the benefit of this practice, the absence of our control, that our life is much bigger than our story about our life. And so came down off that mountain, we finished the pilgrimage, and continued into just the everyday practice, which I think is what we're stepping into now. What is just returning to letting go of our certainties, our convictions, that we hold in a way to protect us or to control those things around us that we want to control. So Bernie says of this, he says that in our everyday life, we may hold on to many notions and opinions tightly or lightly. And that the goal of not knowing practice, or the kind of heart of not knowing practice, is remembering that this is all just our opinion. So this was kind of a famous thing he would say at the end of any talk he would give. He'd be like, it's just my opinion, man. And that was him reminding us, these are all just views. So the other side of this is that, of course, we can't let go entirely of our stories about ourselves or about the world. There's no kind of not living in our skin in a subjective world and life. We see through our own eyes, not some other eyes. And we may have rare moments where everything drops away, but really this practice is returning again and again to noticing our view and opening the palm, opening our hand of thought. And this is one of the teachings that kind of seeded the socially engaged Buddhist training. It was a teaching from Joanna Macy, who said, the self is neither to be vaunted nor overcome, neither to be punished nor improved. It needs only to be seen through, like a bubble that would eventually pop. So seeing through, sometimes we call it emptiness. This is our practice of not knowing. And finally, Bernie says, insights may arise when we step into this practice of not knowing. I think it was Tom who said, he had this idea of what he was going to write for the assignments, and he really thought, well, that's definitely what I'm going to write. He looked at the assignments, but when he came back, he let go of that idea and something totally new and interesting he didn't know was there emerged. So these insights, the kind of wisdom that emerges when we stop projecting our life onto our life, right? It gets monotonous. When we let go of that, something new arises. And Bernie really emphasizes, when some insight arises, we acknowledge it, it's beneficial, and then we let that go too. We can't hold on to anything as precious. So I want to just close with this koan about not knowing and Dogen's take on it, which is the teaching of not letting the practice of not knowing get too precious. So many of you have heard this. This is one of the beloved Zen stories, and it's the story of two friends, two old monks. They're Faiyan and Guishan, two 9th century monks in China. And Guishan asks to Faiyan, what are you doing? What are you up to? He's leaving the monastery and he has a backpack on, these old wooden kind of crude backpacks. And Faiyan says, I'm going around on pilgrimage. And Guishan says, where to? Where are you off to? And Faiyan says, I don't know. And Guishan says, not knowing is most intimate. And we like this story in Zen. It's kind of an expression of aimlessness. One of the marks of liberation, aimlessness being a willingness to not have a fixed location we're getting to, not have a fixed destination that we want the world to contort itself to. But a few hundred years later, Dogen comes along, the 13th century Japanese monk and poet, and he kind of has a problem with this koan. And he says, well, if I were there, I would have said, not knowing is most intimate. Knowing is also most intimate. Let's leave intimacy for the most intimate. So tell me, what are you most intimate with? And he says, not knowing is most intimate. Knowing is also most intimate. let's leave intimacy for the most intimate. So tell me, what are you most intimate with? So Dogen's saying not knowing can become a thing, an idea, an object. We turn out knowing, not knowing, and we put it up on a pedestal, turn it into a goal. And this is why we stop. We stop to discover what we're most intimate with. And I think this is where writing practice and sitting practice weave together. That they go hand in hand, because in sitting practice, we're really learning to be still, to be silent, to listen, to open up. But one of the pitfalls we can fall into in sitting practice is this kind of head in the clouds, floating sense of the thought of no thought, that we're just nothing. But really, it's just our kind of repetitive mind thinking the idea of enlightenment we have, or the idea of no thought that we have. But when we put our pen to the page, we really get specific. We can't float away. We're really intimate with whatever we're intimate with. And so there's this process of emptying out and showing up to what is right here. And just the final thought on not knowing is like our prompt that Dorotea gave us, what opens and closes. This practice opens and closes like the breath. That we emptying out is like the exhale, and noticing what's here, bearing witness, can be like the inhale. And so it's no kind of mistake that these two practices of sitting and writing feel like they go together in that way. So with that, I would love us to write. We don't have to kind of, maybe some of that resonates, maybe some of it doesn't. I know many of you are old practitioners and students of the three tenets, but let's put it into our body, into our experience. And Dorotea, I know you had the idea of, was it oral writing? You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it anymore.
No, we're going with your flow. Kozan.
I would love to do it.
Now we can do it tomorrow.
Okay. Well, let's take a few prompts. Everyone has their pen in hand. And really seeing, the blank page as something unfamiliar, right? You don't know what's going to show up here. And Dorotea, you had a few prompts. I really think they're better than what I have in front of me. I don't want to skip over them. So tell us, what are we writing?
I don't know what topics you're talking about, Kozan. I've forgotten what we discussed because open hand. It
Right.
has floated away.
Let go. Something new will come.
But I've got something's coming up. It could be what I don't get is ... or give us a manual for becoming more stupid. Or what would you ask the wind?
I like it. So 5 minutes. What would you ask the wind? Okay, wind down. That's 5. And then we're going to do one more. The way in which we kind of empty out in the morning every day in a Zen setting is the verse of atonement. And so the question is, what have you not, what requests for forgiveness have you not given voice to? We'll do 7 minutes and go. And remember, just keep your pen moving. No edits, no crossouts, no spelling bee. Allow the page to take whatever you give it. Okay, final sentence. And putting your pens down. Dorotea, should we do that third one? Is that crazy? You're mute.
What third one? Kozan? What third one?
I'm being terrible. Okay, we have a third prompt. We're going way off script,
Way off script.
but we don't like to do things in twos or fours. So most things have to happen in threes.
It has to be three.
It really has to be three.
It really has to be three.
So our final prompt is tell me about a time you fell in love. 5 minutes. And your final sentence. Pens are really moving on this one. It's like a sprint on some of those pages.
Kozan, how do you know? I
can
can't see
see
people's
I
pens.
can see some people's pens.
Are we getting cramps?
I know, finger stretches.
My hands are sweaty.
I'm getting old wrists, so I feel it.
So what's on the script now, Kozan?
I think
Did
on
you
the
want me to? Did
I
you
think on
want
the
me to?
script is sharing, but you had some idea. I like the script is yours, Dorotea. There is no script. It's a script. No
The
script.
script has been thrown out. Okay. This is great. This is not knowing, and I'm loving it. It's just unfolding. I mean, like Kozan said, of course, I have an idea of what I want to share. Of course, I have an idea about writing practice. It's there. It's in my bones. But this not knowing of how we're gonna present it, it's it's wonderful. I love it. I love it because it's coming out so authentic. Thank you, Kozan. Um, let me just take a couple of minutes, my reflections on what you said in writing practice, because earlier this week, was it last week? I'm not sure. One day, past couple of weeks, Kozan and I were on Zoom and we were preparing for this. And he asked me something like, "Are you ready, Dorotea?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, of course, ready." And then he asked, "So do you know what you're going to say?" And then I said, "Well, I'm going to riff off of what you say." So I'm going to riff off of what you just said, shared this afternoon. And I'm thinking of the word precious that you mentioned. That our opinions really aren't that precious. And it's the same thing with writing practice. What we put on the page, there's nothing holy. And you are welcome, more than welcome, to write the shittiest thing in the world. You're welcome to be gibberish on the page if that's what's coming up. So nothing precious, nothing holy. And the other thing, you mentioned pitfalls. Wow. Yes. The pitfall of studying the self. As I said earlier, writing practice is really meeting yourself and studying yourself, meeting your heart mind and studying your heart mind. And there is a pitfall to that. And I've seen it a few times. And that is, we may get too self-absorbed. We may get too self-centered. We may get too human-centered. And it's good to just be aware of that pitfall so we can come back up and say, oh yeah, let's go back to really studying the heart-mind as connected to everything. And the not knowing of the blank page. An opportunity to meet ourselves and to meet our heart mind. Wow, every time you go into your notebook, there goes another opportunity. And there goes another opportunity. I've got this huge, thick notebook, lots of opportunities, loving it. And I think it was Tom who said, we're picking on you today, Tom, sorry, who mentioned that something came up he didn't expect. And that's exactly what we want when we enter our notebooks, is that we don't have any expectations whatsoever. So one of the rules of writing practice is keeping the hand moving. And then there's another rule, which is don't think, do not think. Remember what Roshi said, too much thinking. But how does that happen? How is that possible when we're writing and don't think? Well, here goes another rule for writing practice. Don't get logical. Throw logic out the window. So what I think from experience, what writing practice is really asking us is to trust in our heart mind, our experience, to get really intimate with the particularities of our lived experience. We can't get away from them. It's there. The only thing that writing practice is asking us is to trust that and seeing it as a part of a big whole, interconnected, interpenetrated. It's there, our lived experience. And speaking of lived experience, the not knowing, one pitfall could be bypassing. And as a woman of color, I can't get away from my particularities. As an immigrant, as an indigenous Filipino woman, I have that lived experience. So I can't just say, forget about the self. But really forgetting about the self means knowing the self and knowing that, wow, this self has a lot of narratives imposed on it. Kozan mentioned Eve Marco earlier this morning, and I remember her talking about the 3 tenets, and she kept saying, of course we don't get rid of the particularities of our lived experience. It's there. How can we? But we can always hold them with an open hand. And another thing about writing practice, when we let writing do writing, I mean, like Kozan said about letting sitting do sitting, letting writing do writing, we access that pre-conscious state that Roshi was talking about. And that is so beautiful. The pre-conscious state. And we can actually put that down on paper. Imagine that. I mean, and again, there's like unity and struggle of opposites here. How can it be pre-conscious if we're consciously being on paper? But it is what it is. When writing does writing, we cannot tap into that. I think that's it for now, Kozan. And we can move into sharing unless, should we entertain a couple of questions? I'm not sure.
Yeah, let's take a couple questions or comments if things have percolated for people. We'll take a few questions and then move into sharing.
Okay.
Maureen. Oh, you muted and unmuted. There you are.
Okay. Oops, I don't know. I'm touching something that.
We can hear
So
you.
just a simple question. I'm really enjoying this practice because it is so helpful in unblocking my my judgment mind, which is pretty strong and logical. So is this related in a sense to stream of consciousness writing? Is that just a term that doesn't really matter, or how does it relate to just kind of journal writing, which is probably the other kind of writing I've done for myself?
For me, I'm not really sure, but I can answer it like this. I think the big difference between writing practice and journaling or other forms of writing is that it is really rooted in Zen practice, and that it is practice. It's rooted in that 2,000 some odd years of lineage. Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference. Does that answer somewhat the question, Maureen?
Yes, for me, the connection to the sitting for me changed my whole experience of what was going to come out, and opened up into the ocean of possibility instead of my own personal fixations, opinions, expectations. Yes, it is much bigger than I would have come up with in even though I am at times going back to my personal observations or feelings.
Great. And I just want to say that there are a lot of things that we may label the writing practice or the process of writing practice. Stream of consciousness is one, or some other whatever other kinds. Try not to define it. Try not to define it in words, which is another, unity and struggle of opposites. Try not to define writing in words, but do it. Do the writing practice and not define it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for the question, Maureen. Raul.
Thank you. Really enjoying the retreat so far. My question, it may sound a little strange, but I appreciated, Dorotea, what you're saying about not worrying too much about logic as you're writing. And strangely, what I noticed, even as I'm kind of going with this kind of stream of what's on my mind, I can't help but have this certain degree of logic that's just innate to how I experience things. And so I was having this experience like, wow, there's like, if I look back at what I wrote, there's a flow to it that actually is kind of logical. And I guess my question is that something that's getting in my way of the writing practice? Is it just how things are right now, and maybe it changes as I write more? Is it necessarily wrong if there's punctuation and logic in how I write, even if I'm trying to be more and open and not knowing where things are going to go? I guess the question is the logic actually counterintuitive to this practice, or could it also be part of it? And in that sense, like, anything's possible, including logic.
Thank you for your question. Back again to meeting where your mind is at. Definitely, exactly. Go with what's coming up, Raul. If that's where your mind has been trained, or your heart mind has been trained, so that's what's going to come up on the page. Of course, yes, go for it. And yeah, it might change next year. You might get illogical totally next year. Who knows?
I sure hope so.
Thank you for the question. But the point is to not control it. Let go of the control. Yeah. Kozan,
Am I calling on people? I'm calling on people. Okay,
I can.
No, go for it.
Radhika. Hey,
Thank you so
good that you made it.
Thank you. So I have 3 questions. So when we get a thought
is it a single thought or are there like multiple thoughts at the same time? Why I'm asking is I want some confirmation when I chant a mantra. Is it am I having any other thoughts at that time when I'm chanting a mantra like so hum? I keep repeating when I'm moving about, doing my chores, cooking, cleaning. I want to know if I'm chanting mindfully, is there any other thoughts along with it? And if I'm mindlessly chanting, can I do that? Mindlessly chant, I'm not sure. And when I'm mindlessly chanting, are there other thoughts? Thank you so much.
You want me to take this one, Dorotea? So we have this great program at Upaya every year, this kind of community of academics of mind sciences. So there's a kind of scientific answer to your question. It's called the Varela Symposium, and there's a lot of podcasts on the Upaya website. You can even listen to some of the neuroscientists talk about, what we know about mindfulness and how the brain works when we're doing these practices. And I think what most of them would say is that we can do one thing at a time. We can think one thing at a time, but we can think, seeing the Upaya logo, I've lost you, but I know you're there somewhere. But we can essentially be on autopilot, or which means something's happening in the background, which is to say, here's an example they often use. So when you heard me snap, were you sitting or were you standing up? So you were probably listening to the snap. You knew I was doing something. You were kind of paying attention. What's he doing? And you weren't thinking, am I sitting or am I standing up? But if you think back, you know you were sitting or you were standing up. Wherever you were, you know where your body was. So you were attending to two things simultaneously. And one thing you were giving your active attention to, and one thing you had passive attention to. So mantra practice is a wonderful practice for attending to something like the breath that quiets other stories in our mind. Our mind isn't telling itself the same mundane story over and over again. We're attending to a mantra, and sometimes the mantra even has a kind of affective tone, tone of benefiting all beings or of bringing the mind of awareness. And so we're not only attending to the mantra, we're kind of gladdening the mind. But as you were pointing out, can I do the mantra and not be mindful? Can I be like washing dishes and actually not paying attention to the mantra? And I think the mind scientists would tell us, yeah, we can do that. It's like driving on autopilot, or it's, there are a lot of things we're humming to ourselves as we write. We don't even notice it until the person next to us says, you're kind of humming in the library or whatever. So that's a wonderful thing to notice in our practices. What is the quality of attention we're bringing? And particularly in Zazen, we're really bringing all of our attention to the present moment. We do that by anchoring our attention in the breath, but we're not kind of crawling into the breath as if the whole world were the belly, rising and falling. The breath is like, Shogam Trungpa calls it like holding onto a buoy in the water. Like it's something that keeps you afloat, it keeps you stable. But actually we're attending to the whole world as it arises and falls, all sensation, the wind, the birds outside, the memories of loss and joy, everything will arise and fall in that. And we're not holding on, which would be the kind of attending that we do when we're single focused. So this has real implications for all of our practice, including writing practice, right? We're writing something down. We're noticing the words on the page as we're thinking about what we're writing. So there's always this interplay. And I think the ability to kind of choose how we're offering our attention is one of the things we're practicing. Oh, I can choose to just bring my attention to the present moment, this sensation. I can choose to just bring my attention to listening to the person talking and not be elsewhere. Or I can choose to walk outside and attend to a mantra, and have the quality of attention that I want to bring to that. And so there's that whole spectrum there, and we really get to know the territory as we do these practices, right? We get to know what the quality feels like. And I just want to say there's no like right practice. There's no 16-foot statue, golden statue of the Buddha, as we'd say in Buddhism. Like, it doesn't look a certain way. The wisdom that we're engendering is wisdom we already have. It's wisdom you already have. This is your practice, right? This is practice that arises out of our own immediate experience. So when we think it should look a certain way, or we're doing mantra wrong, right, or we're doing zazen wrong, right, we can just think, okay, what am I learning? What is actually occurring? And what is my intention for this practice? So I hope that doesn't exactly give a binary answer, but I hope that gives some context that's helpful.
Should we take these 3 last hands here, Kozan, and then we move on to sharing?
Sure.
Cool. Carol.
Hi.
Hello.
So let me just lower my hand because otherwise I'll forget. So I had a writing practice for about 35 years where I wrote every day, and had amassed about 10 bins of journals. And then when I started practicing Zen, I stopped writing. So and in the process of that, I also recycled all those journals because they were feeling really heavy, carrying them around. And so I kind of have a practical question, I guess, because I do love writing, but I don't like the stuff.
There's a similar question from someone else. Oh yeah, I write every day too, and been doing it for a long, long time. And I've accumulated, I don't know how many. I mean, I don't have them now because what happens is I read them maybe a month or 2 after I've finished a notebook. And if there's something there that I want to develop, then I'll just tear it off and the rest recycled. Nothing precious, nothing holy. If they really are important, they will come up again, whatever it is that we've written. So yes, Kim, I hope this is answering your question as well. Feel free to reread it, but it is important to read your notebooks though, because that's part of the practice, is to meet your mind on the page as you read. When you're doing the writing practice, when you're letting writing do writing, sometimes you won't know what you're writing. So you wait a month or 2 and then you read it, and that's when you meet your mind. I'm getting complaining over here. What's going on? I'm getting a little bit judgmental over there. Oh, but that I can develop that. I can get that judgmental. So yeah, no precious writings, no holy writings, just read them, meet your mind, to study your mind, where you're going, all the spirals and the zigzags, all the stories that you keep repeating. Oh boy, there are stories we keep repeating, and all of that stuff, and all the complaints that you keep saying. Then recycle. Yeah. Toby.
Hi, thank you so much. And you just answered one of my questions, which was, do you keep everything you write? Because I also had been writing, I guess when I was younger in junior high, high school through college, and I had amassed journals and journals, and I kept them thinking that they were all precious, and then finally just dumped them all. I wish I knew about recycling back then, but I don't think we were recycling anyway. My question is, do you always start with a prompt? Because I really found it so helpful to have a prompt to get out of my head. It was sort of, it allowed me to get out of my own way. And how do I come up with prompts or find good writing prompts? Or are there Zen writing prompts?
Beautiful question. And yes, the topics. Sometimes some people find it very helpful to have topics because it really does ground you. and it gets you out of your own way, yes. But some people love no topic. I love no topic nowadays. I wake up in the morning and just go to my notebook and just let it rip. But you go with whatever works for you. Where do you find topics? Well, when you read a book or whatever, there must be a line there that sticks out. Take that out, start writing from there. Natalie Goldberg. Oh no, I don't have it on me.
So here's there's
Yes,
two
there you go.
Goldberg plugs. One is Natalie has made Writing Down the Bones into a set of cards, which are mostly prompts. They're fantastic, which I use sometimes. And she also has another book called The True Secret of Writing, which delves into this topic a lot too, and is a wonderful book, kind of covering so much of what we're talking about. Worth looking at.
Great, thank you.
Take topics from anything. Take topics from what's in front of you. Take topics from what's behind you. Take topics from movies, televisions, anything. You can write about your feet, my hands. Oh my goodness, there's so many things. The things in your house, the bedroom. So yes, Toby. And it's also good practice to come up with your own topics, because then that's another way to
Yeah.
churn the practice in your belly.
And to do it at a separate time than when you're going to write, like have a page in the back of your notebook that's topics. So then when you are going to write, you're not like figuring out what you want to write about, which is a lot of preference. You just take the next topic and you write about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Eric.
I like to write about gratitude
Mm.
for my friends at Upaya. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
I have an observation, and it happened in what I'm writing right now. You're kind of in the flow, and somewhere in mind you hear a conversation or something, and then your hand doesn't go along with that. What do you do? I'm curious.
Say that again, Eric. So while you're writing,
You're flowing,
uh-huh.
and you watch your hand write something that wasn't in what you heard in mind, wherever it is that you hear what you hear. Can I give you a line as an example?
Yeah, give us an example.
Okay, so what I meant to say is, with black ink in fat brushes, what my hand wrote with black in fat brushes, I forgot the K. What happened?
It's okay.
Quite often it leads to some really interesting meditation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Thank you.
fine. It's great. Thank you, Eric.
That's good. We kind of come apart at the seams as we write, and it's good when the words reflect that.
Absolutely. Just
So
one
do-
example is when you that last thing that we did, something about, I don't remember what it is, but instead of writing down building in Soho, I wrote down militia in Soho. Where did militia come from? Nothing to do with each other. No idea.
We're gonna have to hear that whole thing sometime.
So let's transition into sharing, reading and listening, which is delicious. So when we're reading, very simply, we're reading off of the page. We're not editing. Like if I'm going to read that piece, I'm not going to edit building. I'm not going to edit militia and put building on there. another way to meet the mind and to accept the heart mind. A way to meet and accept the heart mind. Also, we're not performing. It's okay. And we're not going to rush through our words. Just read the word by word, just like how we do walking practice. Step by step, step by step. And like how we anchor our breath to sitting practice and anchoring our minds to pen on paper, we can also anchor our minds when reading, just on the words on the page. Isn't that so liberating? That's it. That's all you're doing, is just reading words right off the page. And with listening, we're anchoring our minds to the words and the voice that we're hearing. The words and the voice that we're hearing. No judgment, no criticism. We had a music critic, or was it a movie critic earlier? None of that. We don't have to come up with an essay, 1,200 words. We're relaxed and open, not clinging or hanging on to what's being read. We keep that open palm. We keep that open palm. And maybe sometimes there are readings that may activate things for us. Inevitable. Let's see if we can just simply listen and let go of that urge or desire to comfort someone or to fix and repair the situation. Deep listening, that is such a gift, and that is enough. Deep listening, that doesn't happen in this world often enough. So if we can do that in this listening and reading practice, beautiful. And one more thing, and this is kind of like a basic community guideline. We'll be sharing things that could be intimate, private, etc. So it would be good if we just kind of respect and honor each other's space. Yeah? Okay. Let's have some hands. Who would like to read? And preferably those who haven't spoken yet. Oh, yes, thank you. Oh, wow. All right. Let's go. Lori, start us off.
Yes, thank you for taking my question. And I
Okay, go ahead.
apologize for not being on screen, but it has to do with the question that I have. I have a cervical spinal injury, and it's very difficult for me to write. And at times, it's even difficult for me to manipulate a keyboard. You mentioned, I believe, something called oral writing. Is that, I don't know how to ask this exactly. I'm learning how to use a voice activated for writing. Is that where you're going when you talk about this tomorrow?
Lori, perfect question. Yes, feel free to do writing practice, oral writing practice on a recorder. And yes, tomorrow we will go into it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Okay. So who would like to read? I'm having trouble I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Christine?
Oh, never mind. Go ahead,
Yes?
Christine.
Okay. I haven't quite figured out how to pronounce that first name yet. I only took the vow a couple of weeks ago. So it's a journey. What would you ask the wind? Where have you come from? Do you always make noise, or can you blow and be silent? Tell me of your travels, the mountains you've climbed and then slipped down. What is it like to be out above the ocean that sees no shore in sight in any direction? Do the whales and dolphins jump up and out of the water to get a taste of you? Can you blow between the colors of a rainbow, or do you bow before their temporary magical, masterful masterpiece with the earth as your canvas? What is it like to roam free? What is it like to sometimes funnel up violently, scaring humanity? Are you quiet at sunrise or sunset? Do you like rustling the leaves on trees the most, or cooling the sweat of a human brow?
Thank you, Christine. Ezel.
Hi, Ezel. What has found you? A softening in my eyes as I look out at the world, an irritation that shows up out of nowhere, a reckoning of all the parts of my life and experience that leads to this me I am in the world, an understanding that life is short and to resolve conflict is important and foremost. I don't walk away unless it's clear that I won't be met. That's it.
Thank you. Kodo.
Hold on.
We can hear you.
I'm coming. Do you hear me?
We
Did
can hear you.
unmute me? Oh, you did. Okay. What has found me? Love has found me in my devotion to earth, soil, trees, air, wind, many winds, the winds of spirit, karmically coming into my womb 23 years ago as a daughter. She found me. I found her. We found each other. And now reckon.
Kodo, we lost you.
Kodo, oh, you're back.
Okay.
I don't know. Where'd I lose you? Should I start again?
We found each other.
Oh. She found me, I found her, we found each other. And now reckoning our mistakes, my choices of behavior and word, and she called me in. Her anger found me, her rejection of my unskillful and unconscious ways that irritate and limit.
Kodo, you're frozen again. Irritate and limit.
And my unskillful and unconscious ways that irritate and limit her. Our past relating is out the window, done. and fear and a very short moment of judgment found me. And I continued to feel and to watch, to not respond. Confusion and pain found me, and I watched that too. 8 weeks have passed, and I'm still watching. All of this spacious, unknown new life has found me.
Thanks, Kodo. Peter.
Right. This assumes that I can actually read my own handwriting. Well, my heart opens and closes. It doesn't stay open, however. It opens for my family, my lovely wife, my daughters, my wonderful grandchildren. I wish it could open wider for the people of Ukraine, for the Tibetans and the Uyghurs who are suffering under the yoke of ethnic cleansing. A path opens up when I hear music. Suddenly, that path is illuminated by the chords of a jazz tune, by the fearlessness of a saxophonist, or the wild abandon of the drummer. I want to keep that path open, but so often it closes. Then I feel cloistered and shut off from the source. One of the ways to close oneself from others, and how ridiculous is that, is to slip into the constant buzz of rumination. There's a certain kind of energy in being cloistered in this way. Negative energy, to be sure, but energy that keeps you hopping like a second cup of coffee. Closing it off is just too easy. A small mind gets us nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Monica.
What would you ask the wind? Llévame contigo. ¿Cómo puedo irme? ¿Por dónde me quieres llevar? Take me so freely. How do you do it? And are you okay when it gets too cold or too hot? Which direction do you prefer? What happens when you're still? How can I be free like you? Llévame contigo. You remind me of a bachata song. 2 steps hop, 2 steps hop. The equanimity and the flow. And if you're too controlling of the movement, it's not graceful. Or should I say, filled with grace. You are an embodiment of contemplative practice. Mi querido viento. Llévame, llévame, llévame contigo. You are a force of liberation. Ashe, thank you. May it be so. Deep bows, your admirer, Monica, and your fellow traveler always bows to you, dear one.
Thanks, Monica. That reminds me, everyone, please feel free to write in another language other than English, please. Even if in a language that you don't know, go for it. Okay, Catherine.
What would you ask the wind? So wind, what's it like to be you? Of late, I have noticed your presence. We were not familiar with your ways in these parts until maybe a decade ago. When you blow, when you flow, does it feel like a release? Is there a building up of pressure? Is there a joy in letting go? When buildings fall and people die and animals disappear, sacrificed to the wind, does that register with you? Do you dance and sing or lament? Do you get your directions from the music of the spheres? I used to detest you. I thought you cold, anxious. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Kathy.
Okay. Tell about a time you fell in love. There's only been one there's only been one time in my life where I really, truly fell in love, not with the idea of love, but truly in love. It was an exquisite moment, unlike anything I've experienced before or since. It was the moment when I first held my newborn first son, when I gazed deeply into his eyes and saw his soul, and he gazed back at me with his large, dark, almost black eyes. We fell into each other. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Nothing else existed. Not time, not space, not people, not place, not situations. Nothing existed except our joined hearts and souls. We were truly one, and the entire universe was inside us both. It was both ineffable and undescribable. No words, just love.
Thank you, Kathy. How's everyone doing? Good, yeah? Delicious listening. Bonnie.
Oops. Hi. I challenged myself to read the one that I didn't want to read. So I guess because it touched me the most. This was the
Very
prompt.
good.
What requests for forgiveness have you not given voice to? I feel deep sorrow at this question as I owe a debt to myself for complete lack of acknowledgement or even violence to myself as I tried to turn myself into everyone's beloved. Yes, I understand the reasons why, but the violence exists nonetheless. Derivative of that is the violence I perpetrated on those I loved most in trying to fix or change them. I have stopped for the most part with others, but continue to do it to myself. Here I have tears and pain in my throat and sinuses, like we had when we were children, and trying not to let the sorrow out. Forgiveness, I feel compassion for that girl who is me and what I did to her, which I think is forgiveness. Giving voice to it is another thing. Even my parents, my ancestors, deserve to be let be. No more wishing, wanting, longing for them to have been different. That too is a form of violence, a denial, a fantasy. Yet if it is a story, then couldn't there have been so many other stories I could have told based on just the facts? Nevertheless, the judgment is the violence, and it has been done. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. You know, I keep saying delicious. Maybe that's not the right word. I think I mean beautiful. That's it. It's beautiful to just be listening together. It just reminds us that, oh wow, there are other human beings out there with these things happening similar to what's happening to me. It's beautiful. And this is the kind of community that I really, really admire and love. Okay, Carol C., please.
Things that open and close. Emotional clouds close over the sun. Hope rolls them back to the corners of the sky. When I turn my face to the sun, my human eyes may close, but my third eye is open to see all, visible and not visible. My arms long to open more, to embrace loved ones far away. My arms long to open, to embrace new love, the world, to gather big bouquets from the garden of grace. That's all.
Thank you, Carol. Deborah, please. Oops, you muted it. There you go.
Great, thank you. Things that open and close. Drawers, water faucets, my laptop, cell phone, doors, my heart, my eyes, my mouth, my anus, the fingers of my
Deborah, you went on mute. You said the fingers of, and then somehow you were muted. There you are.
Okay. The fingers of my hand, your heart, your mouth, your eyes, Opening feels receptive, welcoming. Come on in and set a spell. Would you like a glass of water after your long journey to get here? You must be tired. Let me help you with your suitcase and show you to your room. Beautiful, kind, welcoming words that open my heart and make me feel I am in the right place, and the speaker is glad to see me. On the other hand, go to your room until you can stop crying. Leave the table. You're finished eating now. Don't come back until you can control yourself. Being thrown out from around the table, ostracized from the family, feeling no good, not wanted. I will sell you for a nickel, she said when her kids were acting up, fighting. Fighting comes from a closed mind. Welcoming comes from an open mind. Can I welcome a person with a closed mind? Who is angry at the world? Who is angry at the world? What could my parents have done with that girl, their daughter, who was angry and lost and scared a lot of the time? Could there have been another way to handle the situation? Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. I just want to say, as we listen to all these writings, listening is actually 90%, if not 100% writing practice. When we're writing, we're listening to ourselves. When we're listening to others read, we're listening to them. So it's a way to, again, build that muscle of listening and not having any kind of judgment. So let's keep listening. I was going to say iPad Maria, sorry. Maria.
What has found me? Collage has found me, an art practice I used to admire from afar, at a polite distance. Mostly pieces of paper, often the other side of what I had cut out, a remnant on the floor that I nearly threw away, a blob of paint I could not mop up, a shape I saw in a piece of paper from the magazine with the best quality newsprint and the worst title, How to Spend It. None of it depends on me. All of it comes together as if I was just listening to what the materials want to do, as the artist Danny Albers says. Collage has found me at a time when the words had lost me, except for the most humdrum, dried up, worn out by overuse words. Crank them up, ruffle them like old tissue paper.
Thank you, Maria. Sandra, please.
Things that open and close. Am I a thing because I seem to open and close all day long? This morning I opened my closed eyes and I tried to open my body by walking the circle that is open in the house, the doors that open and close. And again, my mind state of the door is open, is closed, reflect on books that I open. What pleasure in acts, in arts, to my mind, open or closed to what I'm reading. How open? Open like a can or jar, or open like a front door that opens to the outside world. As open lids, as open lips, like a mouth that is about to have a ripe raspberry? Or am I anticipating receiving something that will not be good? What's closed? Closet doors, boxes, what stays closed and what stays open? We speak of the closing of the day, the closing of an era, the opening of a doorway. Open and close a drawer. What's in the drawer that opens and closes? Do we close something with buttons? My hand is now closed, and when I open it, what will happen? Will it be painful to open and close a computer screen, but speak of logging on and logging off, we speak of closing and opening.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Susan.
Things that open and close. Windows and doors, hearts and minds. I'm casting about books, books, books I see. Access, denial of access, doors, and something else. I'm writing with no lines, open pages, portals, parts of the body, mouths, my mouth, to breathe, to eat, to talk, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. Open and close. Seems kind of limited, but what is open to us or closed? Opportunities. I'm onto something here. What do we close ourselves off to and open to? Ideas, actions, others, space between, closeness, self even. Change, closed to change, open to change. That which is fixed does not open or close. Closed, shut is a tight kind of word. Open is a breath, eyes open and closed, awake, looking, sleeping, resting, blind. Eyes open, showing something. Eyes to read and to be read. Eyes closed, enough, enough.
Thank you, Susan. Carol P.
Forgive me. My eyes are heavy today. My body aches, and there's too much quiet and lack of faith. Forgive me for forgetting gratitude, my wanting more, for going to sleep in the midst of living. A somnambulist, awake, sleeping, wandering without discovery, sleeping at the moment when aliveness descends, closing down in the darkness, most comfortable, half awake, not acknowledging the fullness of life, the overflowing, the boundlessness. Forgive me. I prefer to keep it small, tidy, contained. I am afraid still, choosing smallness even now. I want to lie down, the cat between my legs, heating pad on my stomach, flowing inward, exploring darkness, including only lack of.
Thank you, Carol. Serena?
So, no topic. The title is The Day I Left the Ashram. The white dress abandoned on top of the grass, the dry grass. Sometimes you hate, sometimes you have to abandon the white dress in the dust. What am I going to do without it? My mom never wore a white dress, not until she got married at age 64. Her wedding dress was short, a short one, not like this one that I left out because it hid me, every part of me. No topic, and I write about my rebellion towards the forced chastity, which hides My white dress, I throw you on the grass. I let the dust cover you. I let the earth restore you into balance. Let life give you color.
Thank you. Lisa.
What requests for forgiveness have you not given voice to? Have I ever been asked for forgiveness? No. Have I ever been asked to forgive? Not in so many words, but I have been asked to forget. I've been asked to forget where I'm from, why I am in this culture and country, all the languages once spoken in my home, the smells of foods we used to eat. I've been asked to forget the times I felt hurt, alone, afraid, desperate, about to fail. I've been asked to forget other people's mistakes, my past beliefs, things I was wrong about, things I wanted once. I've been asked to forget secrets I'm keeping for others, the circumstances surrounding births and marriages, the wars that were going on when my parents were born, the authoritarian regimes and colonists that ruled those countries where they grew up. I've been asked to forget the fighting, the yelling, the things that were said in my house, the things I've remembered without trying, but nobody ever asked me to forgive.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for coming. Kozan, we have 5 minutes. Kozan, where are you? I can't find you. Oh,
I'm over here. I'm over here.
What do we do?
I don't know where the time went.
Yeah.
Should we have one more share and then
Okay, one more share. Barb,
we'll
go
close.
for it.
Okay, a time I fell in love. I fell in love 14 years ago when 2 cats arrived at my house to see how they'd adjust to a new environment. They were 11 and 7 and grew up together, but not from the same litter. Over time, I could see how each of them represented 2 parts of my personality. One loving, kind, loyal, devoted. The other independent, ornery, angry, and a bit mistrusting. With every year, the love grew deeper for both of them, and the independent one became more trusting of me and more content with laying on top of me for hours until I had to move from the static position. From first sight, I knew they were a gift from Mom, telling me to keep heart open and love deeply, completely, and without condition. Sonny is now 150 in cat years. I like to believe love has a large part in his longevity.
Thank you, Barb. Thank you, everyone, for sharing, and those who read. And please forgive us for those who raised their hands and weren't called. Tomorrow is another day. Kozan, I do want to say something.
Please.
I forget now who said it. Please forgive me. Not able to do writing practice, not able to do the keyboard, but is practicing to do recording, audio recording. And thank you for raising your hand and saying that, because Lori, yes, thank you, Joanne. What we're doing is really, some people in this world are not able to write. Some people in this world are not able to listen. So it's a gift and it's an opportunity. And yeah. And I hope that we see it like that it's not something that is a given for everybody. And even the words that I use, build the muscle, hello, that is what happens to those who don't have that life experience of building a muscle. Yeah. So that's all. Kozan, we will have a fantabulous time tomorrow. We will do oral writing practice.
We will.
We will, and it will be fun. We will need volunteers for that, please. And don't try to prepare, please. Don't try to prepare because you can't.
No preparing.
No
And
preparing.
we're starting the day with bearing witness, which is what you're showing us right now, Dorotea, which is bearing witness to the diversity of this world. And yeah, this life comes in all different shapes and sizes. And writing may not be the practice for all of us. And it may not look like this. And also we found our way here for some sort of rhyme and reason. So it's wonderful to be in this particular practice, which is one of infinite together. Doesn't stop us from that appreciation. And just a reminder that we'll be sitting at 5:30 Mountain Time. So it'll be an hour-long sit. It's punctuated in the middle by 10 minutes of walking meditation. And then tomorrow morning, we'll be sitting at 7 a.m. with a 20-minute liturgy where I think we'll chant the Enme tomorrow, which is kind of a very common Zen chant on emptiness, a chant to Avalokiteshvara. So join us for either or for both or for neither if you're getting your fill of sitting practice when we're together. And if you're unable to join us tomorrow, some of you have written me, thank you for being here. It's wonderful to have had this time with you just for the day. And know that I haven't felt this healthy in like 2 weeks. I think you all have brought me back to life. I'm still a little more tired than usual, but I really appreciate being in community with all of you. It's like been revivifying. So thank you. And if you're not able to join tomorrow, Joanne's going to put in the chat the page for Donna or donations. If you're able to give anything, it's really part of the exchange of programs at Upaya. We offer them freely. If you can give $1, give $1. If you can give more, please do. It supports us in sharing these programs and Upaya's kind of infrastructure for hosting us. And if you're unable to make it tomorrow, we'll share that website today. And we'll see you all tomorrow morning, if not at the evening sit. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you tomorrow. Or see you at the Zendo.
That too.